We're now going to call forward Eliana and Buddy, who are going to share with us some reflections from their summer in Israel. On Rosh Hashanah, we heard from our Gesher campers. We heard from Eliana and Buddy last year about their experience on Gesher, and this summer they had a chance to go on Ramah Israel seminar on a Ramah program in Israel. So I'll turn it over to you guys. Both, okay. All right. Do you want to use this, or should I just move it? I'll move it. I'm going to move this down. Okay.
Shalom. My name is Eliana Davis.
And my name is Buddy Bomsey.
Last year, we had the opportunity to speak to you on Rosh Hashanah about our Gesher summer at Camp Ramah Darom. This past year, with many of our camp friends from previous summers, we traveled to Israel on a program called Ramah Israel Seminar. Over 230 campers from 8 different Ramah overnight camps united to explore Israel. I was thrilled to be placed on a bus with campers from Ramah Darom and campers from all over the Midwest and New England. I learned so much just by talking to my fellow campers, all with different experiences through our own Ramah camps and through their synagogue communities at home. One of my favorite things about being in Israel was the sense of community and connection to the Jewish people I felt just walking around the streets. Our first Friday evening in Jerusalem, we prayed Kabbalat Shabbat, or Kab Shab in Camp Lingo, at the Kotel, right next to the egalitarian side of the wall. I was chosen to lead services for my group along with one of my best friends from Ramah Darom. We sang all of our familiar and special camp tunes. Halfway through the psalm, Shiru Ladonai, a birthright group came down the nearby steps and started singing with us. At the end of the psalm, we spontaneously formed a circle and danced and sang the Yainanais together very loudly. Our singing and dancing continued on, with more and more people running down the stairs to join us. Even though we all came from different Jewish backgrounds, we all felt connected through this moment of prayer at the Kotel. All over Israel, I had amazing opportunities to meet new people and learn their stories. One such experience happened while we were rafting down the Jordan River. A group of Israelis who were about to enter the army, not much older than ourselves, were floating down the river at the same time. Although we spoke limited Hebrew and they spoke limited English, we were able to communicate across our separate boats by referencing pop culture. Everything from popular musicians to social media. As we talked, we gained insight into the lives of typical Israeli teens, a perspective I hadn't been able to hear before. My Israel trip was filled with small experiences like these, ones that made ordinary activities like a rafting trip seem extraordinary, and these experiences shaped my summer unforgettably. After being in Israel, surrounded by Jewish friends and praying every day, coming back to America was a culture shock, to say the least. Being here with my Bethel community has helped me to adjust. The familiar tunes and the people here make me feel at home. Before I turn this over to Buddy, I'd like to thank this community for being so supportive all of these years. From a kindergartner who would run around the downstairs of Bethel trying to escape from babysitting, sorry mom, to a 7th grader who was ready to step up on the bima for her bat mitzvah, to now, a senior in high school who has learned how to lead through USY and connect to Judaism in her own way, Bethel has provided me the best environment to grow up in.
I am a part of the North American conservative Jewish camping movement. And to be honest, I didn't fully understand what that meant until this summer. For years at camp, I heard the term larger Ramah community in reference to Jewish life in college and the rest of life. This summer was the first time that I experienced the larger Ramah community, and in turn understood what it means to be part of the Ramah movement. I want to tell you 2 stories that opened my eyes to the size and strength of the Ramah community. During something called Host Weekend, a Shabbat that everyone spends with a family that lives in Israel, I stayed with my mom's college roommate, Eileen, and her husband, Seth. People she knew long before I was even an idea. It turns out they were very active members in the Ramah community when they lived in the United States. After Kabbalat Shabbat at their synagogue, we went into the courtyard where I met people in their congregation from all over the Ramah community. At dinner, we further discussed their family's involvement in Ramah, which had been strong for 2 generations. At this point in my trip, I had not realized what I'm explaining to you now. It was just some wild coincidence that my mom's friend had been part of Ramah and was now surrounded by tons of other people who had various connections to Ramah. On my last Shabbat morning in Israel, my friends and I, along with our madrich, arrived at the shul just as they were starting shachrit. The sanctuary was in a basketball gym, but the tunes were familiar, the same ones we do here and the same ones we do at camp. After the service, we confirmed that sitting just 2 rows in front of us was Lauren Sykes, the previous director of Ramah Darom. Again, I found myself surrounded by people with different connections to Ramah. Later that afternoon, walking back from a woman's house who had invited us over for lunch knowing little else about us than that we were with Ramah, I finally realized that being part of Ramah meant more than going to camp or having gone to camp. Last year, when I stood up in front of this congregation to speak about my summer experience in Gesher or Madarom, I finished by telling you that the friendships I had made would stick with me forever. However, I now realize that it's more than that. Not only will the friendships I have made stick with me, but my connection to this movement will remain with me for the rest of my life, just as I observed this summer in Israel. I'm a part of the Ramah movement, but to the same degree, it is a part of me. Finally, I would like to thank everyone here for being a part of the Bethel community. It's this very community that shaped the way that I understand Judaism, and I consider myself incredibly lucky to have grown up in such a welcoming and unique community.
Thank you.